kalmte en alles wat jy nodig het en ons staan agter julle, baie sterkte.
22.5 at the moment. Okay, now there's a bill that is waiting to be passed in Parliament called the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill, which possibly threatens the power that you have as a parent when it comes to the education of your kids and more so the way schools will be operating. It is scary a thousand times over. A couple of things that the bill in itself is looking to introduce, which we will get into in just a moment. And speaking to us more about this, of course, you can head on over to Facebook Live where you can catch and see the full conversation as well. I've got Philip Rosenthal he's the director of Christian View Network that joins us online this afternoon. Philip, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. It's always good to have you.
Hi, Cliff.
Right, Philip, let's get into it. The Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill. Firstly, tell us about this bill. What is it all about, and why should we be quite cautious about this bill?
Yeah, well, the current school governance regime that we have at the moment was put into effect by the Schools Act in 1996. And this is the biggest change in education in a generation. And essentially it would affect the three main areas of schooling being public schools, which are currently run by school governing bodies, homeschooling, and also independent schools. And it would make all of these more difficult for parents and reduce their level of independence from central government. And we are speaking up to government, and we've asked Parliament to change this bill to put power back into the hands of parents and not take this away. So we can discuss the detail of how this is going to affect each of those three areas.
Yeah. Well, let's get straight into it. Do go into detail for me as to how it is going to be affecting those three areas in terms of parents and schooling and what things are looking like.
Well, in terms of school governing bodies, I think we know that all the schools that are best governed are the ones where parents are involved in the schools and are having a controlling say in what's happening. So this bill would take away a whole lot of their powers and make it more difficult for them. So in other words, it would reduce their control over admissions, which this can affect the viability and the ethos of the school, their ability to employ extra teachers with additional school fees, their control over procurement, who decides what to buy, if you want to, where you're going to buy stuff from, and put these powers in the hands of central government, which we have just seen the mess of schools that are directly controlled by the central government and where parents have less of a say. Then in terms of homeschooling, it would be less choice in terms of what curriculum you could use. So they essentially would like you to either follow the state curriculum or something very similar to it, rather than what most parents who are doing homeschooling, they want to do that because they want to do something different. And then in terms of independent schools, you would need to submit quarterly financial statements, which I think is an administrative burden for them. And it would also make it more difficult for them to rent like school fields and swimming pools and such like from a public school, which is really win-win to both. And would also make it more difficult for churches. I mean, there's thousands of plant churches, new churches, which are meeting in school halls. And it would make it more difficult for all of those to hire the school halls. So we say these changes are not helpful.
Yeah. I mean, some of these changes also spoke into the abolishment of corporal punishment, entirely the abolishment thereof, which that in itself is a really, really touching topic. It has gone in many directions. But now the Education Department is even talking about the possibility of criminalizing parents that doesn't send the kids to school. So if the kids are not in school, criminalization could be taking place for the parents. Speak to me more about that.
Well, look, the original draft of the bill in 2017 had a proposed 6-year jail term for not complying with this thing, which would be an enormous problem for homeschooling parents who didn't trust the state and didn't register for whatever reason. And thankfully, this has now come down to 1 year, but we are asking Parliament, we don't want any jail time for parents who are just choosing to homeschool and for whatever reason have not registered. It's a totally unreasonable
Jy is by Radio
penalty.
Kaapse Kansel op
Sorry about that. Please continue. My apologies.
So, so we argue that there should be no jail time for parents who choose to homeschool and don't choose to register, and that they should have maximum choice of what curriculum the parents want to follow. And for public schools, we want as much power as possible in the hands of the governing body. It would also affect particularly Afrikaans schools, which are running in that medium, that the central government would have the power to tell that school to change to English. And I think that that is something which a lot of Afrikaans speaking parents are not happy about. So we don't have a preference on what language they teach, but we say that parents should be the one who decides and not the central government.
Yeah, I mean that's fairly a difficult one to even consider, especially when we speak about the whole controversy that's currently happening at Stellenbosch University, with a couple of things happening there in terms of Afrikaans and what has been released recently, and so that in itself also kind of brings it home to, and really this sounds like the government and the National Education Department wants to adapt a one-size-fit-all schooling, which sounds like it's really just not going to work. And as a parent, you kind of don't have a choice now if this comes into effect.
Well, they would make it more difficult. So I think that there would be some schools that would continue in Afrikaans, but the central government would have the power to force them to change if they decided so. And we say, no, this is not acceptable. It's for parents to decide. But the concern that we have is that if the central government can instruct a school to change its language policy, then can they also instruct a school to change its religious policy? And we say the parents should be the ones who decide on religious policy and not the central government. So that decision making can be made on the lowest possible level, and you can choose what is best for your child.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly have, I feel very differently about this, because I think on one hand you're looking at it and you kind of asking yourself now, as a parent, are you the parent, or is the government kind of parenting your child in many ways in terms of education, based on the bill that they want to pass, and all of these amendments to it. Also, another aspect to this bill and to the amendment is also the sale of alcohol after school hours, which has been opposed by many as well. As a parent and as an individual, can we oppose this? Can we go and have our voice heard? Can we have our say? And if we want to kind of put a stop to it, is that possible?
I think certainly if you want to have your say, there's the opportunity for every parent to speak up. And in fact, Parliament has said they're going to have hearings in every single province. So it's not just the hearings that are going to happen at the Parliament itself. Parliament is going to come to the people, and you will have a chance to have your says. And it is important that you do that. But you can also do that by emailing the government. And if you go to our Facebook page, which is Christian View Network Facebook page, we'll put the email address there, and you can send in your email.
Philip, thank you so much for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I think this is, I think this information in itself is crucial. Is there a closing date, or are you unaware as to what the dates and things are looking like at the moment, or should we just kind of look at where you are right now in terms of Christian View Network and keep an eye out?
Well, look, I think there's going to be several phases of this consultation. Firstly, it is being heard currently in Parliament, and you can follow that on YouTube if you just search for the Education Portfolio Committee. So the next meeting is going to be coming up tomorrow. and but there will be, and then there'll be another meeting the following week. But it's a process which is going to be ongoing probably for the next year.
Yeah.
And it's a time then we just have to speak up, because otherwise you're going to be crying if this bill gets passed and the power is taken away from parents. And you can always change your mind on your specific issue at a later stage if you keep the power in the hands of parents. But if you let it be taken away, then you won't be able to change that very easily.
Philip, thank you so much for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for all of this information. We are definitely going to be speaking to you sometime next year, hopefully before this bill gets decided upon, to kind of see where we're at in terms of this bill being amended. So, yeah, we look forward to that conversation and to that follow-up next year sometime.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Philip, speaking to us there, he's the director of Christian View Network. I mean, this bully in itself is really, really quite scary. And if you want to have your say, then make sure to go ahead and visit all social media platforms. Check out Christian View Network as well to go ahead and to see where you can...